My name is David McKenna from Grantek. I'm the product manager for our label verification solution, and I'm here as part of You Asked, We Answered, where we answer questions that we've received on LinkedIn or from clients or from other people in the industry, and we publish this information online. So today's question that we were asked is, what is the best way to have a machine vision system inspect my packaging and let me know that I've got the right packaging on the right line for the right product? And there's a couple different options in here, and depending on what you're doing, there is the best one, and sometimes there's one that's not the best, but that's just what you have to use, and those are the cards you're dealt. So starting on the left-hand side, we have barcodes. And barcodes are, we don't think about this, we take barcodes for granted, but barcodes is a designed way that's machine readable. It's machine readable numbers or text. How do we print something and make it as easy and as fast for a machine to read it as possible? And that's really what a barcode is. So there's 2D barcodes, there's 1D barcodes, you know, the UPC format you see at the grocery store. There's QR codes that get used on a lot of things. And there's different choices in here. And really the best one to use from a barcode perspective, if you can get a barcode on the product, is a 2D code. 2D codes read faster. Because it's two-dimensional, they can store a lot more information in a smaller space. And that's really what we recommend the best. 1D codes, you can use it. The challenge with a 1D code is that represents that finished good material in your grocery store. So if you have two different versions of your labels because you change your ingredients, or you change some key health text that's on your label, or you change something important that if you got it wrong you'd have a recall, well, your UPC might stay the same because maybe it's the same product and you just changed the formulation. So not recommended, but sometimes you don't have a choice. So 2D code. QR codes are interesting. They do take longer to decode than a data matrix does. But really the main reason we don't recommend them is consumers are used to QR codes. They understand what a QR code is. They'll pull out their phone to scan it. And QR codes are something that really, because customers scan these, they're really more of a fit with marketing. You know, if marketing's doing a promotion or a contest or a giveaway, or come to our website and tell us if you liked our delicious Grantek Bites crackers that we made, that's what a QR code is for. A QR code is really marketing. You want the customer, the end consumer, to scan something and go to a website or something like that. So it's not a good choice for an internal number that you're storing that represents that version of packaging that you've got on your product. Some of the other options, character recognition, character verification, which is in the middle. So scanners and cameras can decode text, and there's specific types of text that are a little better at that than some others. So for example, if you look at your checks, paper physical checks, if you have any, then the kind of font that's used in there is specifically designed to be machine readable, and that's an option. But again, this is harder to do and slower and requires more expensive hardware than a 2D code if you can get a 2D code. As a last resort, you can use, it's on this side, pattern matching. So what pattern matching is where you can't get a barcode on the product, you can't get a 2D code, you need to check a label, maybe there's multiple labels on the product, you need to check a label that doesn't have a barcode on it, doesn't have the UPC, doesn't have a 2D code. Marketing won't let you put a 2D code on it, and so you just train on a pattern. So what we've done in this example, we have peanut butter Grantek Bites, delicious, and we've trained on the shape and the pattern of peanut, over there, come on. We've trained on that shape and the outline of those edges and that contrast in color that says peanut butter. The camera doesn't actually know that it says peanut butter. It's just trained on that whole pattern and that shape. And so when we're inspecting product on the line and we're running peanut butter, we expect to see that whole shape. And in the example below where it says cheesy Grantek Bites, you can see red where it says peanut butter, because it did not find the peanut butter pattern. So it says this is not the one that I'm expecting, and I fail it. Pattern matching can work. Pattern matching is an option. It's not as good, because when you run cheesy Grantek Bites and you didn't see the peanut butter, you don't know what's actually there. You don't know if it was cheesy Grantek Bites or it was some other product, or maybe it was a peanut butter, but it couldn't read it. So you can't tell the difference between not being able to read something because the box was flipped upside down or something went wrong, or I've read it and it's a different product. You just know that it's peanut butter or not peanut butter. The other challenge with pattern matching is And this is really where customers and clients can fall down, and we do provide support with this in the form of training and in the form of documentation, in the form of even managing this for customers, is when you train on a pattern. If I'm going to train on peanut butter Grantek, if I'm going to train on the peanut butter text in my label, I'm going to make sure that is unique. If there's two products, let's say we have peanut butter Grantek bites and then another one, peanut butter Grantek bites, and in the bottom left it says, low sodium or who knows what. Well, now both of those have peanut butter in them. So from a camera's perspective, it can't tell the difference between those two labels, and that might be a problem. So you really need to train on a pattern that is unique to that package, and then as you add new labels and new packaging, you need to train again. You need to go back and verify all the patterns that you trained, that all of those patterns are still unique across all the packaging that you have, and that can be difficult to do. And again, we have tools and we have an approach that we put in that can help manage this, but it is a challenge that comes up unique to pattern matching. So I hope that answers the question of what are the ways of kind of machine systems identifying my packaging and what are some of the choices between them. So today we're going to be talking about label verification. And one of the questions we were asked is around best practices for label verification systems and maintaining them in the long run. This is something that means a lot to us. We don't want to just put in a system and get paid and the customer ticks a box and then it gets turned off or has challenges or doesn't get adapted to new packaging. We want our customers protected for the long run, and we want a system that's still operating to protect the brand and to protect the public from incorrect packaging and potential allergen recalls and undeclared allergens. So today's question is around the single biggest best practice at the site level, not at corporate level, that we recommend around a label verification system. And the big one, I'm going to make myself a little smaller here, is having a champion. Having someone who's at the site, who's empowered to keep the system running, to update the system as the business changes or packaging changes or operations changes, lines change, things move. Someone that's empowered and accountable for the operations system. And sometimes it's often a quality manager. It may not be a quality manager. It might be a maintenance manager or maintenance person, a quality supervisor. It's been different people we've seen at different sites, but having that person is critical. And so there's a couple things that person needs to do, and one of the biggest ones is handle new packaging that comes to the facility. We've had customers who had not done this, and they had unplanned downtime, really because a new product came and the system had not been adapted to it. And so that we've created guides and we create training to kind of help support that person, that champion in their role, and we engage with them. And it can be as simple as you have a new product and it's got a barcode, just like the other products on that line with a barcode. You know what? You just need to go add it to the system. And that's something you can do yourself through web-based screens. No big deal, but it needs to be done. And it needs to be done in advance of trying to run that product. Or it can be as extreme as some of these quotes where we've had customers who got other products moved to their plant from another plant. And while those products were a different shape or a different size, so that size difference may not sound like a big deal, but if it's a different size, it's going to change the distance between the camera and that barcode, and maybe it's not in focus now for that product, or maybe it's not looking in the right spot, or maybe the label's on a different edge of the box instead of the leading edge, it's on the trailing edge, and these kind of things, the system may need to be adapted to it. Or as extreme an example, if you went from a square container to a round jar that's rotating on that same line. Again, changes may be needed to the vision system, to the label verification system, and you want to get ahead of those so you don't have chaos on the plant floor and unplanned downtime or unplanned really bypassing or disabling of the system. And there's other things that have come up. I mean, these are quotes from customers. Marketing removed the 2D barcode. So packaging design group moved orientation and location of UPC. So there are significant changes to packaging that can happen. And if you don't have a champion or someone who's kind of paying attention on the plant floor, then they're not going to adapt. The system fills in time and you're going to get unplanned downtime. The other one is around just maintaining the use of the system and empowering that person. So we recommend you have that person, and we provide reporting options to monitor the system so they can see which lines are running how well, which SKUs, which shifts, what time of day are there issues. And supporting that person and additional training to support the plants and facilities, whether that be in person or through video, to ensure that this is something that does run over the long term and continues to protect the customer and their brand. And so Site champion, really important, one of the best practices to a label verification system and keeping it running in the long term. And today we've been asked a question of what do I put in my 2D barcode or my barcode on my packaging. And this is really around label verification, and so just as a quickie refresher, label verification is where you put ideally a 2D barcode. Oh, let me get a bit smaller there. There we go. Label verification is where you put a barcode or use machine vision to identify each packaging component that you've got. So if we're making some delicious oil and vinegar tomato salad dressing, well, I'm going to have some way to detect the front label, that specific version of the front label that I'm running. There may be a back label on it. There could be a neck label. There's a case label. And I'm going to use cameras or machine vision system to check all those labels and make sure I've got the right labels for what I'm running. If I detect the wrong label, hey, we have a peanut butter salad dressing, that's a thing, I guess, a peanut butter salad dressing front label, and we're not supposed to have that because we're running oil and vinegar, then we can stop the line, we can do a reject, we can take various different actions. And so one of the questions that we get asked a lot is around what do I put in the barcodes? And the best answer, there's a couple things that drive the answer, and then I'll get to that best answer, not to build undue suspense. You want to keep them small. The less amount of the more information you put in the barcode, the bigger it's going to get. The bigger area that the camera is going to have. So that's going to start causing issues. Those wonderful marketing people on which we depend for our livelihoods because they drive sales of everything, they're going to get more upset the bigger a barcode that you have on things. And then it's going to get tacky, but it's just going to take up more space on the label. The bigger the barcode, also, it can get into, it's going to take more time for it to decode. And if you put more stuff in it, you may have to make it bigger so that you get the same number of pixels for each black dot in it. So as you put more stuff in it, you need to make them bigger, or if you keep it small, you're going to have more issues reading it and more reliability. So the name of the game is put as little information as possible in that 2D code so you can make it small so it doesn't take up much space, but you still get enough dots per enough black dots per pixel so that you get a good performance reading it. And so what we really recommend is the number that you put in there is in some ERP systems it's called a material number, in others a resource number, but we recommend you put the material number that represents that specific piece of packaging. So you're going to have all these numbers that represent your inventory, your packaging, your labels, and that number is going to represent that version of that label that you got from the label supplier that you're storing in inventory, and we recommend that you just put that in it. And if you've got that, that lets you uniquely identify back to the individual packaging component. It lets you tell, and depending on your business rules, it should let you tell the version that you've got of that packaging, whether it's a promo package, whether it's a promo or there's an ingredient list gets changed. Presumably in your business, you're changing that number to represent those two different versions because you're going to have an inventory of two different kinds of labels. So that we recommend that 2D barcode only have the number that represents that version of that packaging component. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of You Asked, We Answered. If you've got any other questions for Grantek, please include in the comments or email info@grantek.com. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.